The galactic tribute chamber was built to remind everyone why they knelt. Its ceiling rose so high it dissolved into shadow, an artificial sky studded with cold stars that never moved. Pillars carved from the bones of extinct worlds circled the arena, each etched with the names of species that had learned the cost of refusal. The air carried a faint metallic tang, the residue of energy weapons fired here long ago, memorialized violence, preserved as warning. Dozens of delegations waited on the obsidian floor, arranged in strict descending order of status. The strongest stood closest to the dais. The weakest were pressed near the outer ring, where the acoustics distorted their voices and no one bothered to hear them clearly. Every species knelt. High General Zaureth of the Korth Dominion stood alone. He occupied the central platform, his massive frame wrapped in ceremonial armor that shimmered like liquid obsidian. His 4 eyes swept the chamber with bored authority as a final tribute procession concluded. Crates were dragged forward, seals broken, contents scanned. Energy cells? Rare isotopes. Biologically compatible labor contracts. All catalogued. All expected. A chime echoed. Next, Zaureth said, his voice amplified and layered, designed to press against the nervous systems of lesser minds. A delegation from the Thurin Collective shuffled forward. They were late. The chamber noticed. Zaureth did not raise his voice. He never needed to. "You are 12 cycles behind schedule," he said mildly. "Explain." The Thurin envoy trembled, antennae quivering. "High General, our harvest moons failed. We beg." Zaureth lifted one claw. A single gesture. The envoy vanished in a column of white light. Where the Thurin had stood, there was now only scorched stone and drifting ash. A murmur rippled through the chamber, quickly smothered by fear. Zaureth turned to the remaining Thurin. "Your explanation has been accepted," he said. "Double your tribute next cycle." They bowed so low their foreheads struck the floor. Order restored. Zaureth settled back, satisfied. "Proceed." More species followed. More offerings. More obedience. The ritual moved with the comfort of repetition, a machine that had run for centuries without resistance. Then the chamber herald spoke again, voice hesitant. "Calling, the Human Confederation." The temperature shifted. Not physically, but perceptibly. Several delegations shifted their posture. Some watched with curiosity. Others with faint, cautious hope. Humans were new. Useful. Quiet. A single figure stepped forward. The human envoy wore no armor, no ornamentation beyond a simple dark uniform. Their hands were empty. Their face calm. No visible implants. No sign of defensive tech. They walked to the center ring and stopped, standing where others knelt. Zaureth noticed. "You will kneel," he said. The envoy inclined their head, respectful but unyielding. "High General, I am authorized to speak on behalf of Earth and its aligned colonies." Zaureth's lip curled. "You are authorized to kneel." A pause. The human remained standing. Whispers spread like static. Zaureth's eyes narrowed, interest flickering. "Very well. Speak quickly." The envoy exhaled once. "Humanity has delivered all prior tributes in full and on schedule. We request clarification regarding today's summons." Zaureth gestured, and a holographic projection flared to life. Numbers scrolled. Resource quotas recalculated in real time. "Your tribute has been reassessed," he said. "Effective immediately." The envoy's brow tightened slightly. "Reassessed how?" "Doubled," Zaureth replied. "Raw materials. Ship production. Energy reserves." He leaned forward. "And an additional provision. Labor allocation." Silence followed. The words settled slowly, like dust after an impact. "You are requesting population transfer," the envoy said carefully. "I am ordering it," Zaureth corrected. "Your species breeds efficiently. The compact requires workers in less temperate regions." A low hum passed through the chamber. Some species looked away. Others watched with something like hunger. The envoy's jaw tightened. That was not part of our original agreement. Zaureth laughed, a harsh, metallic sound. Agreements evolve. You should consider this an honor. Contribution is the price of protection. Protection from whom? The envoy asked. Zaureth's smile widened. From me. A ripple of dark amusement moved through the upper tiers. You call yourselves warriors, Zaureth continued. Yet your fleets remain modest. Your weapons conventional. Your myths primitive. He tilted his head. Baba Yaga, was it? A crone who frightens children. The envoy did not respond. I expected more, Zaureth said. Perhaps humanity is wiser than it is brave. The envoy finally spoke. This decision exceeds our mandate. I must consult Earth. Of course, Zaureth said smoothly. I admire species that understand their limits. He raised one claw, and a timer appeared in the air between them. 72 standard hours. That is the mercy I extend. The envoy looked at the timer, then back at Zaureth. And if we decline? Zaureth's voice dropped, all warmth evaporating. Your frontier colonies will be erased. 1 per hour. Broadcast live. I find it improves compliance. A few delegations flinched. Others watched with detached acceptance. This was how the galaxy worked. The envoy held Zaureth's gaze. For a moment, something unreadable passed behind their eyes. We will deliver your response within the allotted time, the envoy said. Zaureth nodded. See that you do. The human turned and walked away, footsteps steady, shoulders straight. They did not look back. As the envoy exited the chamber, murmurs erupted, speculation, fear, quiet calculations. Zaureth listened without concern. He had seen this pattern countless times. New species resisted. Briefly. Then they learned. He settled back into his throne and gestured for the next delegation. But somewhere beyond the chamber's ancient walls, far from ritual and spectacle, humanity was not panicking. They were waking something that had been waiting a very long time. The ship did not arrive so much as appear. One moment, the region beyond Pluto's shadow was empty, cold, silent, forgotten. The next, space folded inward like a held breath released, and something vast occupied the void. No warning flare. No transponder ping. Just the quiet certainty that a boundary had been crossed. The vessel's hull absorbed light instead of reflecting it, layered in matte plates broken by faint seams of dormant weapon ports. Its silhouette refused symmetry, angles shifting subtly as if the ship disagreed with being observed. Along its flank, in muted Cyrillic script barely visible against the black, was a single name. Ali Baba Yaga. Inside, the bridge was calm. Crew moved with unhurried precision, each motion practiced to the point of instinct. No one spoke above a murmur. There was no urgency in their posture, no trace of alarm. This was not a ship scrambling to respond. This was a ship executing a schedule. General Anya Morozova stood at the center command well, hands clasped behind her back. She was 54, her hair iron gray and cut short, her uniform unadorned except for rank insignia worn more out of regulation than pride. Her face bore lines earned in silence rather than stress. When she looked at a display, it was with the patience of someone who already understood what it would show. A junior officer approached and stopped precisely 2 steps behind her. General. Recording from the Galactic Compact has been authenticated. Morozova nodded once. Play it. The air shimmered, and the tribute chamber unfolded in 3 dimensions. Zaureth's voice filled the bridge, layered and theatrical. The demand played in full, resources, ships, labor. The threat followed, delivered with the confidence of habit. 72 hours. The recording ended. Silence returned. No one spoke. Morozova did not react immediately. She stood still, eyes fixed on the space where the hologram had been, as if considering a faint stain left behind. Timestamp the demand, she said at last. Done, the officer replied. She turned slightly. How long since first contact? 38 years, ma'am. And compliance rate? 100%. Until now. Morozova allowed herself a thin, humorless smile. Then they've learned nothing. She stepped forward, activating a secondary display. The bridge walls filled with star maps layered in color-coded vectors, trade routes, patrol lanes, jump corridors. Lines intersected, converged, vanished into red-marked dead zones. These were never trade routes, she said, more to herself than anyone else. They were supply chains. A senior strategist cleared his throat. General, the compact believes we'll negotiate. Delay, maybe request arbitration. They believe silence equals hesitation, Morozova replied. That mistake has kept them alive. She reached out and tapped a node deep within compact territory. It flared amber, then red. Activate Phase 1, she said. The bridge did not erupt into motion. There was no dramatic countdown. Consoles acknowledged the order with quiet confirmations. Somewhere far beyond human space, systems that had slept for decades came awake. A tactical officer glanced up. Dormant fleets responding. All sectors green. How many do they think we have? Morozova asked. Based on intercepted estimates? He hesitated. A quarter of our actual strength. Morozova nodded. Good. Overestimation breeds caution. Underestimation breeds mistakes. She turned as another officer approached. General, Earth Command is requesting clarification on rules of engagement. Morozova accepted the secure channel without ceremony. Earth's emblem resolved into view, followed by the faces of civilian and military leadership. They looked tense. Expectant. The compact has escalated, one of them said. Population transfer is not acceptable. It was never intended to be, Morozova replied evenly. A pause followed. Anya, the speaker said more quietly. Once you move openly, there's no returning to compliance. The galaxy will remember this. They already remember us, Morozova said. As obedient. As manageable. That memory is the problem. She gestured, and a new projection appeared, footage of human colonies, children playing under artificial skies, workers moving through habitat corridors. Ordinary life, fragile and precious. They will not stop, she continued. Tribute systems don't stabilize. They expand. Today it's labor. Tomorrow it's governance. Eventually, extinction with paperwork. Another voice broke in. You're proposing preemptive confrontation. I'm proposing conclusion, Morozova corrected. Decisive. Limited. Irreversible. Silence stretched across the channel. What do you need? Someone asked. Morozova didn't hesitate. Authority to represent humanity personally. Several faces stiffened. You're going to the chamber? Yes. That's unprecedented. So was their demand, she said. A long pause followed. Then, one by one, confirmations came through. Authority granted. Full operational discretion. God help us. Morozova closed the channel. The bridge settled again into its steady rhythm. A young lieutenant, barely old enough to hide his nerves, looked up from navigation. General, permission to ask something? Granted. Why go alone? Morozova considered the question. Because fear is most effective when it has a face, she said. And because myths don't travel well in formation. The lieutenant nodded, unsure if he understood, but reassured nonetheless. Plot a direct insertion to the tribute chamber, she ordered. No escort. No visible armament. A murmur passed through the bridge, quickly suppressed. And General, the strategist added carefully, if they attempt detention or execution? Morozova's eyes flicked toward the stars. Then they confirm what we already know. She turned back to the crew. We've spent decades letting them believe we were harmless because it kept our people alive. That era is over. The ship's engines shifted, reality bending at their edges. Remember this, she said quietly. We are not here to threaten. We are here to end the conversation. As Baba Yaga slipped into transit, unseen and unchallenged, The galaxy remained unaware that its oldest hierarchy had just been scheduled for removal. And for the first time in centuries, the tribute chamber was no longer the place where history ended, it was where it would break. The tribute chamber had never known silence. Even at rest, it breathed, energy currents humming through ancient conduits, translators whispering at the edge of hearing, the faint rustle of thousands of lives waiting their turn to kneel. Silence was not part of its design. When the human arrived, silence followed her in. General Anya Morozova entered alone. No escort. No banners. No visible weaponry. The chamber's vast doors sealed behind her with a sound like a final verdict. Heads turned. Delegations shifted. Some rose slightly from their kneeling posture in disbelief. Others leaned back, instinctively creating distance, as though proximity itself carried risk. She walked at an unhurried pace toward the central ring, boots striking obsidian with a steady, measured rhythm. Each step echoed longer than it should have. The chamber's acoustics, calibrated to magnify authority, did the work for her. High General Zalreth watched with open amusement. "So," he said, voice rolling across the arena, "the humans send a single officer." Morozova stopped precisely at the edge of the inner circle. She did not bow. She did not kneel. "I am here as requested," she said. Her voice carried without amplification, calm, even, unmistakably human. Zalreth's eyes narrowed, one pair blinking in mild irritation. "You misunderstand. I requested your strongest general." Morozova inclined her head a fraction. "Then your request has been fulfilled." A ripple of quiet reaction passed through the chamber. Some species glanced at one another. Others stared openly now, unable to reconcile expectation with reality. Zalreth laughed. The sound was sharp, metallic, deliberately scornful. "You are smaller than I imagined," he said. "Older. Softer. Appearances have always mattered to your kind," Morozova replied. "To ours, outcomes do." That drew a few startled murmurs. Zalreth rose from his throne, armor plates shifting with a low mechanical growl. "Careful," he warned. "Defiance here is traditionally brief." "Traditions end," Morozova said. He circled the dais slowly, studying her like an artifact pulled from a dig site. "You name your warship after a children's monster," he continued. "A scavenger. A crone who hides in forests and frightens the weak." Morozova's expression did not change. "You should have studied the rest of the story. And enlighten me," Zalreth said, spreading his claws. "What does your myth do?" "She eats invaders," Morozova said simply. Laughter rippled through the upper tiers. Zalreth joined them, though his eyes remained sharp. "Enough," he said. "You have come to hear my decision repeated. Humanity's tribute will increase. You will provide labor allocations. You will comply, or your colonies will burn." Morozova listened without interruption. When he finished, she remained silent for several seconds, as though weighing something delicate. Then she spoke. "No." The word landed harder than any threat. Zalreth's amusement vanished. "Explain your refusal," he demanded. Morozova met his gaze. "We will not kneel. We will not pay. And we will not surrender our people." Zalreth leaned forward. "Then you accept extermination." "No," she said again. "We will kill you instead." The chamber erupted. Delegations shouted. Translators struggled. Several species recoiled as though struck. The phrase echoed, stripped of ornament, stripped of diplomacy. Not a threat. A statement. Zalreth stared at her, disbelief hardening into fury. "You dare!" Morozova raised a hand. The gesture was small, precise. A data shard slid across the obsidian floor, coming to rest at the base of the dais. "Before you order my execution," she said calmly, "you should review that." Zalreth hesitated. Only a fraction of a second, but it was enough. He gestured, and the shard activated. The chamber filled with shifting projections. Jump corridors flared into view, compact controlled routes highlighted in red. Then, one by one, they changed color. Blue. White. Human-designated markers appeared where none should exist. Supply convoys blinked into existence, their paths traced with unsettling clarity. Fleet movements. Fuel depots. Hidden reserves. Murmurs rose, sharper now. Fear threaded through them. "What is this?" Zalreth demanded. "Our homework," Morozova replied. "Your empire runs on predictability. Tribute schedules. Patrol cycles. You taught us well." Zalreth snarled. "Lies. You do not possess the reach for this." Morozova's gaze swept the chamber. "You confuse reach with visibility." A sharp tone cut through the air as a dozen compact systems went dark on the projection. No explosions. No alarms. Just absence. Zalretha's claws clenched. "Guards!" he barked. "Execute her!" The chamber's defense grid flared. And died. Lights flickered. Energy fields collapsed. Control glyphs shattered into static. For the first time in centuries, the tribute chamber was unprotected. A hush fell, heavy and absolute. Morozova did not move. "Execution protocols were disabled 6 minutes ago," she said. "Your reaction time has been consistent with projections." Zalra staggered back a step, disbelief giving way to something rawer. "What have you done?" he demanded. Morozova turned slightly, addressing the chamber now, her voice carrying without strain. "For generations, you mistook patience for weakness. You taxed species into obedience and called it order. You built a hierarchy that functioned only because no one dared touch its foundation." She looked back at Zalreth. "We touched it." A distant tremor passed through the chamber, not physical, but informational. Status feeds updating. Reports flooding in faster than they could be processed. Zalretha's console screamed warnings. He snarled and lunged toward his throne, initiating emergency withdrawal. Space folded around him as escape protocols engaged. Morozova watched him vanish without expression. She turned to the chamber, to the kneeling, the watching, the terrified. "This is not conquest," she said. "This is correction." Then she stepped back. As the tribute chamber plunged into controlled chaos, alarms finally howling, one truth spread faster than panic ever could. The humans had not come to negotiate. They had come to end the age of tribute. It unraveled. Across the compact's core systems, alarms bloomed too late to matter. Tribute fleets stalled mid-transit as navigation corridors collapsed into inert space. Dockyards lost power without warning. Command relays blinked out one by one, not destroyed, simply removed, like organs excised with surgical care. There were no declarations. No grand broadcasts. Humanity did not announce war. They acted. High General Zalreth fled through fractured space aboard his flagship, Dominion's Will, its engines screaming as they forced passage through unstable corridors. His bridge was chaos, officers shouting, consoles stuttering, tactical feeds dissolving into noise. "Report!" he roared. A navigator turned, eyes wide. "We've lost contact with Sector 8. Tribute escorts are dead in space. Not destroyed, disabled." "That's impossible," Zalreth snarled. "Human weapons lack that precision." The officer swallowed. "Then our assumptions were wrong." The words hit harder than any impact. Before Zalreth could respond, space ahead twisted. A human vessel slid into view, not emerging, not warping, simply present, as if it had always been there. Baba Yaga. It loomed without posturing, hull dark and unreadable. No weapon ports opened. No targeting beams flared. A calm voice cut through the bridge. "Zalreth," General Morozova said. "Power down. This corridor is closed." Zalretha's mandibles flexed. "You think you've won?" he spat. "You've fractured the compact. The galaxy will burn for this." Morozova's reply was immediate. "No. It will heal." Zalreth signaled weapons. The flagship's forward batteries charged, then died, systems folding in on themselves like extinguished stars. Your ship is compromised, Morozova continued. You have three options: surrender, attempt escape, or continue resisting and be boarded. Zalreth laughed, ragged and furious. You won't dare board me. The silence that followed was answer enough. Human breaching pods struck moments later, precise impacts along the flagship's spine. No explosions. No decompression. Just controlled entry. Zalreth drew his ceremonial blade as armored figures flooded the bridge. Humans in matte black exosuits, faces hidden, movements exact. They did not rush. They advanced. Morozova entered last. She removed her helmet as she stepped onto the bridge, eyes taking in the damage, the fear, the disintegration of certainty. Zalreth raised his weapon. You've doomed your species, he hissed. The Compact will never forgive this. Morozova stopped a few paces from him. Forgiveness implies wrongdoing. You dismantled centuries of order. No, she said. We dismantled exploitation. Zalretha's blade wavered. You could rule, he said suddenly. Humanity could replace us. I can help you. Shape the aftermath. Morozova studied him for a long moment. That's the difference between us, she said. You think power is something to inherit. She gestured to the bridge windows, where disabled fleets drifted like discarded shells. We think it's something to end. Zalreth lunged. The motion was desperate, uncoordinated. A human soldier intercepted him with brutal efficiency, disarming and pinning him to the deck. The blade clattered away, irrelevant. Morozova knelt beside him, voice low enough that only he could hear. You demanded tribute because fear kept your empire standing, she said. But fear decays. It always does. She rose and nodded once. Zalretha's execution was swift. Clean. Final. Moments later, his image filled the Compact's surviving channels. Not as spectacle. As record. Morozova addressed the galaxy from the bridge of Baba Yaga, her voice steady, unadorned. The tribute system is terminated, she said. All existing demands are null. Any attempt to restore them will be treated as a hostile act. She paused, letting translation matrices catch up. Humanity will not occupy your worlds. We will not dictate governance. We will not collect payment. Her gaze hardened. But we will enforce boundaries. Silence followed, heavy with realization. For those who feared us, she concluded, you were right to be cautious. For those who relied on our obedience, consider this your final notice. The feed cut. Across the galaxy, something ancient loosened its grip. Species that had knelt for generations began, slowly, to stand. Fleets recalibrated. Economies stuttered, then adapted. Power redistributed, not upward but outward. Human ships withdrew as quietly as they had arrived, leaving no banners, no monuments. Only absence. On the bridge of Baba Yaga, Morozova watched the stars drift past. A junior officer approached. General, what happens now? She considered the question, eyes reflecting distant light. No, she said. We go home. The ship slipped into black space, leaving behind a galaxy forced to relearn itself. The age of tribute was over. And humanity had never once asked for permission.